Your salary lands in your account on any random morning, and for a few seconds it feels like nothing more than a number. But in 2026, your salary is no longer just a paycheck. It is a mathematical key, and that key fits into one very specific type of front door. Here is the problem nobody tells you at the interview. What the bank says you can borrow and what your life says you can actually afford are two completely different worlds. One is a ladder made of lending, the other is a ladder made of living. Today, we climb both at once, rung by rung, and show you exactly which door your salary opens and whether there is any air left to breathe once you step inside. Before we climb, here is the machinery every lender uses. The borrowing ceiling is roughly 4.5 times your gross income, whether you apply on your own or as a couple. Every monthly payment we discuss is anchored to a 5% average on a 5-year fixed rate, spread over a 25-year term. Your LTV, your loan to value, simply measures how much of the house is the bank's and how much is truly yours. And hanging over the whole climb is fiscal drag, a frozen personal allowance of £12,570 and a higher rate threshold stuck at £50,270. Those two frozen numbers are the silent tax that quietly shrinks every figure you are about to hear. Add council tax, a bandy bill now running well over £2,000 a year in much of the country, and your NI, and you begin to see the truth. The bank lends against your top line. Life is paid out of what is left. Let us start at the bottom, the entry tier, £25,000 to £30,000. At 4.5 times income, the bank hands you a key worth roughly £135,000, a mortgage of around £790 a month. And here is where geography becomes destiny. This is the north-south divide. In Sheffield, or across much of the northeast, where the average home sits near £165,000, that key opens a genuine front door. A house, a garden, a life you can actually stand inside. Carry the identical key down to London, where the average is closer to £540,000, and it opens almost nothing. It is not a house, it is a parking space. And this is where the mirage shimmers into view. Shared ownership. It whispers that it is the ladder's first rung, but you buy only a slice, perhaps a quarter, while paying rent on the portion you do not own, plus service charges, plus the cost of staircasing later if you ever want more. You feel like an owner, but the maths of a part buy, part rent home often leaves you carrying the costs of buying and the insecurity of renting, both at the same time. Now climb to the professional tier, £45,000 to £55,000. The bank's key is worth roughly £247,000, a mortgage of around £1,440 a month. On paper, comfortable. In reality, this is the squeeze. On a salary of £50,000, once income tax and NI have taken their share, your take-home lands closer to £3,300 a month. That mortgage alone swallows nearly half of it before you have bought a single item of food, before council tax, before you have switched a light on. This is the fiscal drag zone, where your monthly fuel is far thinner than the headline salary ever promised. And here is the honest picture of what that feels like. Carrying a high-leverage mortgage on a median salary is like running a marathon in a 20-kilogram weighted vest. You are not standing still. You can absolutely still move forward. But every single step costs you twice. Every grocery shop, every birthday, every social invitation your friends accept without a second thought demands double the effort from you because you are hauling that weight up every hill on the course. The finish line is real. You will simply arrive at it exhausted, while the runner beside you, unweighted, arrives fresh. The third rung is the one everybody assumes is safe, the top 10% tier, £80,000 to £95,000. Individually, the bank's key now approaches £400,000, a mortgage of roughly £2,340 a month, elite salary, elite borrowing. And yet, this is where the cruelest trap on the entire ladder is set. First, the high-income child benefit charge, which now begins to bite at £60,000 and wipes the benefit out completely by £80,000, quietly taxing you for the crime of earning more while raising children. Second, childcare, a cost that across the home counties routinely rivals the mortgage itself. So here you stand, on a salary the tax system officially calls elite, carrying the true monthly margin of a student. Now picture the altitude. Living with a mortgage built on just a 5% deposit, and 95% LTV is like living at the very top of a mountain. Technically, you have arrived, but the financial air up here is thin. You can breathe, you can survive, but there is no spare oxygen for vitality, for the small extras that make a life feel like a life rather than a spreadsheet. And the real danger of thin air is that it leaves you no reserve. One market storm, one interest rate shift the day your fixed rate ends, and suddenly you are gasping, with nothing held back to steady yourself. Now we reach the tier that looks like victory and behaves like a trap, the elite squeeze, £125,000 to £160,000. The bank's key is vast now, comfortably over £600,000, a mortgage north of £3,500 a month. But watch what the tax system does between £100,000 and £125,000. Across that band, your personal allowance is stripped away, £1 of it gone for every £2 you earn. The result is a brutal, invisible marginal rate of around 60%, and once you add NI, closer to 62%. This is the 60% trap. You qualify, gloriously, for a £600,000 home and then discover that HMRC takes such a bite of every additional pound that you cannot comfortably feed the very mortgage the bank just approved. The key fits the lock perfectly. The house is simply too expensive to live inside. This is the level where the smart money stops chasing income and starts defending it, funneling every spare pound into an ISA for tax-free growth and into a SIP for the pension relief. Because at this altitude, sheltering money from HMRC becomes just as important as earning it in the first place. And then, the summit, high net worth, £250,000 and beyond. Here, something fundamental changes. You stop being income-driven and become asset-driven. The 4.5 times multiplier quietly stops being the point, because the mortgage is no longer decided by your salary, it is decided by your portfolio, your equity, the bricks you already own. The bank stops asking what you earn and starts asking what you hold. This is the crossover where a home stops being a liability you service every month and starts becoming simply one more asset inside the walls. And that word, walls, is the whole point of this climb. Because on any random morning, at the start of the work week, when the payment leaves your account, you are quietly answering one single question. Are you building a fortress of freedom, or are you paying brick by brick for a very expensive cage? So here is the truth the ladder teaches. Affordability in Britain has almost nothing to do with the top line on your P60. That number is a headline, and headlines are written to impress, not to inform. What actually matters is your margin of safety, the money, the breath, the sheer room to live that is left over after the bank and HMRC have each taken their share. A home is meant to be the thing that lets you breathe more easily, not the thing that quietly takes your breath away. True freedom was never the biggest key or the grandest door on the street. It was always the margin behind it. Find it, hold it, and guard it. If this video helped you, like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.